we started moving our code base towards using a shared main.js file, rather than having two separate code bases for the Android and iOS versions of our app. This is going to speed up development time significantly, but we do have to be aware that we don't want to use any components that are specifically designed for either iOS or Android, but we'll talk more about that down the line. So with our main.js complete, we're going to go back and fill in the details in each of the index files. Let's start with index.ios.js. So this file is going to be very lightweight, and in fact it's really only have one job at all. All it has to do is register the main component with app registry. Remember, app registry is the tool by which we tell React Native what our most parent or core component is. So at the top, we'll add React. Then we will pull off app registry. We'll then import main. And you might be used to, say, declaring a new React component here. This is where it gets interesting. We're not going to declare any component here. All we're going to do is register main as the base component. So we're going to call app registry.register component authentication. And remember, if you generated the project with a different name than authentication, you'll enter that name here, not authentication. And then we'll just return a function with main. And there we go. Now I made a small error in the last section. I accidentally put style sheet with a lowercase s down here inside of main.js. So let's go ahead and do a capital S. That makes everything go happy. Terrific. So again, we now have index.ios.js. All it does is require main and registers it as our main component. So let's go over, refresh the simulator, and sure enough, I am both iOS and Android. And I somehow misspelled Android, so let's go ahead and fix that. Refresh, looks good. I like it. Cool. So I want to repeat the process that we're going through here just to make sure that it's blazingly clear. We are creating a single main.js file that's going to be registered on both the index.ios.js and the index.android.js. And so whenever we make changes to our application, it's going to automatically reflect on both platforms. So we've gone ahead and we've implemented this on index.ios.js. I'm going to copy this and duplicate it over on index.android.js as well. So we'll save this, and now you can go ahead and pop open your Android simulator if you so care to do so, and verify that it's correctly running on there as well. So you should see, if you open up your Android simulator, the text, I am on iOS and Android at the same time. Cool. So one downside to this approach that we're taking here, as I mentioned earlier, is that if you're developing an app that has really clear visual differences between both platforms, if we have an Android version that uses, say, Material Design, and then a iOS version that uses, flat or whatever they call it design, basically, you want it to look like an iOS app, you might want to stick with separate index files that render different components. For us, since we are going to have an app that looks completely identical between both platforms, it makes a lot of sense to just use a single main component here and not really have to worry about customizing on a per platform basis. Okay, so now that we've got our app and a good start here for both platforms, let's start working on authentication in the next section.